So I wanted to ask in the, speaking of pharmaceutical companies, what you guys are doing with your therapies now, the cells, are they extracted from healthy people and then they're essentially supercharged and then put into the patients? Now, does you have kickback or roadblocks from pharmaceutical companies in what you're doing, or do you not have to work with them at all?
So no, not so. Let me first explain how the therapy works, and then I'll answer the question about the world of pharma, because the natural killer cells is a huge field right now. It is a very, very, very big emerging field. There's a lot of clinical trials going on. There's a lot of different types of platforms that I can explain, but let's start with how it's made. So what we do is we take cells from a healthy adult, and we first qualify those adults, and we look for people who have very high NK cell function. And in this situation, oddly enough, my husband has tested higher in NK cell function than I think like 7 or 8 20-year-olds that we've tested now. He was Sophie's. We got her a different type of natural killer cell activation in 2020. Was it? I'm so bad with years. 2021. The end of 2021, she got what's called IL-2 activated NK cells. And we harvested my husband Josh's natural killer cells. And then we used IL-2 to turn them on inside the body versus activating them outside the body. This was a separate platform from ours, but it worked very, very well. And after 2 infusions, we saw 16 total months of cell death in Sophie's tumor. Unfortunately, that company ended up shutting down for various other reasons. So we were not able to go back to them, which is why she then, when our cells were available, got our therapy. And now we're seeing what we believe is a lot of cell death again. So Josh, we've studied him for a long time. We've studied my blood for a long time, which is exceptional as well. And we've clearly studied Sophie more than anyone. So when we started looking at donors, I, of course, raised my hand. I live a very healthy life. I eat all organic. I eat well. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I take medical cannabis every day. I microdose it at night for sleep, anxiety, arthritis, just for peace. It helps block nightmares. Like if I, for whatever reason, need to travel out of the country and I don't take my cannabis with me, if I haven't had it for 72 hours, I will have the most insane, realistic dreams. And often they're not good. They can sometimes be scary. And the cannabis blocks those nightmares for me, which is why we've seen it work so well with PTSD. It also boosts the immune system, which if you remember earlier in our conversation, I had said that Sophie had an immune system that was functioning like that of a healthy adult, but yet she had a brain tumor. And it was because of those lack of natural killer cells in her brain that she had that tumor. Well, we proved in 27 other humans that medical cannabis was activating immune function by studying their blood. And we actually published to a top cancer journal on that, showing that it was rebooting the NK. So we believe that the reason that Josh and I are such incredible donors is that we're taking medical cannabis and we also are healthy. My husband works out probably 3-4 days a week, and I don't. I have stage 4 arthritis in my knees from being an athlete and a dancer my whole life. So I do little barbells. Nonetheless, we're healthy. So, but it's cool because we've been using cells from my blood that we take out. It's a cell called osteoclast that the bone forms, that's in the blood. And we take those out. We force osteoclast out of my cells. And then we feed those to my husband's natural killer cells. And then we use this blend of probiotic bacteria. It took like 10 years to figure out this blend that Dr. Jewett has developed, that the natural killer cells eat the osteoclast and they eat the probiotic bacteria. And we can take what's called a primary natural killer cell from the human blood and turn it into 5 million supercharged natural killer cells. And when they become supercharged, they have more gamma interferon release. They are more cytotoxic. They have a better killing ability, essentially, than a regular natural killer cell. So the way I describe it is it's like putting me in the ring with the Hulk. I'm going to get my butt kicked by the Hulk. Natural killer cells are 10 times more powerful than a primary natural killer cell that you just extract from the blood. So it's a proprietary process. It took 30 years to develop. And my company has licensed patents from UCLA. UCLA is our business partner in this. They have equity in our company when I say that. They're not helping us run the company, but we work with them on a daily basis for patent protection and so forth. So that's the process. The therapy is just a simple infusion drip. We pre-med with Benadryl. We just do that. We do that as a safety precaution. We've never seen a natural killer cell platform of any kind, whether it be NK cells from placental tissue or what's called iPSC-derived natural killer cells, or what's called CAR NK cells, where they tag the NK cell to a CAR, which is way more complex than we need to jump into. But my point in being is there's different type of activation methods that the industry is using for natural killer cells. We've never seen or heard of a documented case where there was a negative reaction of any kind. And you don't need a perfect match. A mismatch is actually better. So this is an off-the-shelf solution. So right now, for example, in Cancun, we have a lot of cells cryopreserved. So when a patient goes down, we thaw the cells that morning, bring them straight to them at the clinic, and we infuse them right away. And they get the Benadryl just as a precautionary measure. We don't expect any kind of allergic reaction, but it's Benadryl, so it doesn't hurt. And it also helps relax the patient so they can take a nap. It's about a 3-hour infusion. And then you go home. You go back to the hotel. There's a checkup the day before. There's a checkup the day after to clear you to go home. And it is literally that easy. Then we monitor you. We watch your scans. And then the plan for FDA is that we're going to give 1 infusion a month for 3 months solid. We haven't been practicing that in Cancun yet, but it is something we intend on implementing very soon. We've been spreading them more apart, but we also have been taking safety into consideration. We want to be very, very, very safe with our initial patients, and we want to ensure that we're going to see the same level of safety with ourselves as we do with all the other platforms that are out there. And so far, so good. So then there's the pharma question. What is our plan with pharma? We believe that the best approach to this is to partner with pharmaceutical companies that have immunotherapy sectors. And we believe a way of bringing everyone together versus giving them all to one monster giant, all the cancers. And this is also immune-related diseases. We've also treated deep vein thrombosis in one of our team members who was wheelchair-bound almost. Like she'd have help walking to the bathroom. When I say almost, she literally had to have help just walking to her bathroom in her home. Within 2.5 weeks of her infusion, she was doing a 1.5 mile hike in the woods with her husband and felt like a college student. We don't know if it's going to be curative for DVT, but is absolutely benefiting it in extraordinary ways that modern medicine has not been able to with this patient. So this is also other immune-related diseases, and most diseases are immune system related. So autoimmune disease, type 1 diabetes being a big one in that sector, ALS. We hope that and believe that there could be applications for dementia and Alzheimer's. There's a lot of different things that we're hopeful this can be beneficial for, whether it's a monotherapy or it's a combinational therapy. We don't know. We don't know what all it's going to do in humans. We've only seen what it can do in mice, and what we've seen it do in mice has been exemplary. So what I would like to do, and what my team has discussed, is licensing different disease indications, different companies, and having them help us with those very, very big astronomical fees and the money required in order to get through a human trial and to get it all the way through FDA approval and into the marketplace. So let's say, Johnson & Johnson gets pancreatic, and Bristol Myers Squibb gets glioblastoma, and X, Y, and Z gets breast. That's kind of the way that we see a safe way, I think is a good use of words here, of playing this out. So everyone gets a bite at the apple, everyone gets a piece of the pie, and the community at large, the large community that's in the cancer fight, can work together collectively to use this therapy to help with diseases across the board, and prevention and longevity. As we get older, our natural killer cells get weaker and weaker, and we get sicker and sicker. So using this as a preventative to cancer, having tests in place that identify whether or not the natural killer cells are broken and whether or not the patient needs therapy before cancer forms, is really the big goal here. Let's just stop cancer from ever forming in the first place. That's a very long-term goal and is a hope and a dream. And I think that we're going to get there eventually, whether it's us or another company. I think that especially with AI and what it's doing for science, is going to help us get there faster. But yeah, it would be our goal to not have to raise, $1 billion or $2 billion on our own and hire the amount of people it would take to get this many different types of cancers treated in human trials. Like that's an astronomical task that a small team like ours just cannot undertake. So we believe that there's a path to work with many different people.
Good. I mean, I'm glad to hear it, because the more time we spend fighting and arguing with big companies together, and most of the time ones that can outspeak us monetarily, then we're not going to get anywhere. So working together, I think, is the best way to go. Can anybody be a donor of NK cells? Is this something that, kind of like BioLife, you show up to donate blood? Can anybody be a donor of NK cells?
Not anyone. Anyone can be tested to be a donor for NK cells, but not everyone will qualify as a donor. I can't even tell you how many young, healthy people we have tested, and their natural killer cell system was not acceptable to be a donor. And we tested a college student recently that is an athlete in college, and their NK cells were not producing the level of gamma interferon that you want to see, that helps target and attack and differentiate and kill cancer. When I say differentiate, one of the goals of our therapy and one of the ways that it works is it takes a poorly differentiated cancer, which is a high-grade cancer that can metastasize in the body, to a well-differentiated cancer, which is a low-grade cancer that's easier to treat. My daughter's is a well-differentiated, even though hers is very hard to treat. When you're taking an aggressive cancer and making it less aggressive, it becomes easier to target and kill. So that's what I mean by differentiated. But I mean, yeah, to the point is, at the end of the day, we just want to be able to involve as many people as possible, but not everyone is going to be able to be in. So right now, the donors that we have enough, and I don't know, look, Curtis, I'd love to bring you in and have you be a donor. Right now, we have enough donors. When we go large scale, that is when we would reach out to someone like you and say, hey, Curtis, we've got this bank set up. Go give blood for us if you don't mind. If you qualify, then you can become one of our donors. There will be, I anticipate, a donor program like that in the future, where we can test and qualify patients. And in that process, Curtis, I believe that would also allow us to identify people that might need our treatment now, that could be at risk of disease and cancer later. And we catch them early because they've willingly come in to give blood to become a donor. And we find that, oh, well, guess what? You actually could benefit from this right now. So that's potentially where we're going in the future. That part of the map hasn't been drafted thoroughly. It is something that we have begun talking about and how that's going to work. But I believe that through apheresis, and apheresis is a process, it's much like dialysis, where you get these two huge straw-like metal tubes in each arms. It is not a fun experience. My husband's had to go through it for Sophie. And they take all your blood out of your body 3 times and siphon it through this machine. And the machine takes the cells out that we need. And you get a much, much, much higher level of natural killer cells than if you just do a standard blood draw. Right now, we're just doing a standard blood draw where we're taking 60 to 100 mLs of blood, and we're using that, and we're doing a run off of that. And with that, we can get, we just recently believe we've optimized the manufacturing in a very substantial way, which would significantly decrease the cost of our therapy. We have not fully validated that yet. If the validation comes back and these cells are all good and usable, then we've been successful at, the team that we're working with in Cancun has been successful at improving our production process. And anytime you can improve it, you can produce more cells, treat more patients, and it'll be more affordable. So now we're staying the course. That's a long-winded answer of saying, hopefully in the future, we will have that option available for people who want to participate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that would be incredible. And to be honest with you, I remember when JC needed transfusions, I put my hand up and said, I'll do it. I said, you can take whatever you need out of me. Now, at that point, you're in the hospital. They take you, obviously they have donor blood on hand, all that kind of stuff. But, any chance that I have, I would be 100% honored to be involved in something like what you're doing. And please do. If that comes up, reach out and I'll be there. But yeah, I think a lot of people would jump at the chance, because it's honestly, it's probably, giving blood or giving cells and things is probably one of the easiest things you can do to support, what you're doing in the therapies and things like that. Because, let's be honest with you, you're just kind of hanging out, just sitting there. The machine's doing the work, the nurse is doing the work, right? And what you can do in that little amount of time, I think, can be incredibly helpful. So if that, I hope that that does come to pass, and I'm glad that it's even, it's been thought about and talked about, and hopefully that is what ends up happening, because I think it would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, knowing that our daughter is getting well, using mine and my husband's cells. My cells are washed out because they're gobbled up by the natural killer cells, but my husband's cells got stronger. And my husband and I, the combination, it's crazy. The combination of mine and his cells in our previous runs were always the best. And again, using usually you want to use a young male who's in their early 20s. I'm about to turn 50, April 10th. My husband's already 50. He'll be 51 in July. So we're like over double the age of these other young people. And our immune systems are working better than theirs, which is amazing. Love knowing that. And also, how cool is it that our daughter, her tumor is going away, and we believe, and I don't like to use the word cure because you have to be so far out before you can actually claim that, but to eradicate one of these tumors at her hospital at CHLA, it's never been done before. They've never had a patient with an optic pathway glioma that was no evidence of disease, ever. It's a top 5 pediatric hospital in the country. I've only ever heard of 2 cases, and that was with a new drug that's out that's very specific to a genetic mutation these children have, and this was very new. I don't know if they've remained cancer-free for very long, but with an optic pathway glioma, the only time you see regression of disease on its own is if the kid has an F1 traditionally. It's extraordinarily rare. I've never even heard of a case happen when there's not an F1 and Sophie doesn't have an F1. So once her tumor is gone, theoretically, it should not come back, because we have fixed the immune system in her brain. And we know that we have been successful in doing that, at least in past infusions, because there was a cyst that continued to grow because there was so much cell death happening around the tumor that several years back we had to drain that cyst. And 12 months out after her IL-2 activated infusions, if you remember, that was the infusions from a company that wasn't ours. Her natural killer cells were still functioning at a very high level. Traditionally, it's 5 to 15% of your white blood cells are natural killer cells. Sophie had over 5% NK cells in her brain before she had 0. And that was a year after her infusion. So theoretically, her tumor should not come back. And to believe that there is a world where her cure could have been walking next to her entire life is quite something. And our other patients that are getting well, our leukemia patient that in 58 days, 75% of his cancer was gone, used my husband's natural killer cells that were charged by my cells. The glioblastoma patient, our team member that has DVT, deep vein thrombosis, to know that we are having that. It's funny because we have this running joke that they're our children now, that we've now adopted them because now they're part of us. And now, even though they're older, they're all older than us except for Sophie. They're now our kids and they're part of the family.
Yes.
Just having that be part of this story for us, and for my husband to really be able to kind of put his stake in the ground, because he has been my supporter and my rock and my confidant and my biggest fan. And he's taken on the huge responsibility of making sure Sophie gets to all of her appointments. He's not even able to work because Sophie has so many appointments, so much physical therapy. He has to do 5 sets. He doesn't have to. He does 5 sets of stairs with her every day to help her strengthen. It is rare they miss a day. He has built this little gym off of our master bedroom he calls Ryan Fitness, where he has blow-up balls and different stretching tools that he uses for her, that he set up just for her so they can have a little area to work out in. And he has taken on this role of super dad, but he doesn't get the spotlight like I do. I'm the one doing the public speaking. I'm the one building the companies, and I'm, the face here and the face there. And for him to have this, and for this to be something he can own and be like, yeah, those are my natural killer cells, making our baby better, fixing these patients. It's been a really incredible gift. And I'm glad that I was able to have a part in helping that be a gift to him, because he deserves it. He's really been in the trenches with me.
Well, I will tell you, number one, there is nothing greater on this planet than being a girl dad. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm just going to say it. There's nothing better in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It is the most incredible. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I guess what I would say is, as a doctor, as a physician, you're always, your goal is to treat your patients, is to get in a lot of them to get close to their patients. You and your husband with what, and these therapies in this company have found the way to be the closest and the most intimate way to be with your patients, to treat them with what you can personally give them. And that is, I can't imagine the feeling that you have, the both of you, for being able to be a part of that, because it means that you are not just giving a drug. You're not just administering a chemo or a radiation or writing a prescription. You are administering something that is so personal to you, but that can help somebody else. And it's unbelievable.
Yeah, my husband is really taking it seriously. He dropped like 20. I mean, he was never overweight, but he put on some sympathy weight when I got pregnant. I gained like 50 pounds with Sophie, and I had been working out for years, and I was just like done. I was ready for some cheeseburgers. So, and she was a 10-pound baby, so she was also really big. But he had put on sympathy weight for me when I was pregnant, and when he found out he was going to be the natural killer cell donor, he was like, "All right, I'm really going to lock it down. I'm going to drop all this sugar. I'm going to start exercising." And he went from not exercising for several years to exercising 3 to 4 days a week. He completely changed eating habits. He's dropped like 25 pounds. I mean, he's always been a very handsome man, but he's just as handsome now as when we first met. He's really, really taken this and owned it. And it's been so special to him to be a contributor in this way and to watch him light up when he talks about how Sophie's been getting his cells in our other patients. It's really kind of put new life into him. And it's been really a beautiful thing to watch and be a part of.
I love it. And I love that he owns it. I love that you both own it, because the reality of it is that all the work that goes into it, whether it's, doing the research or doing the science behind it, or with the infusions with the patients, the fact is it all starts with the both of you and giving your literal personal contribution to this. And that's the definition of pouring yourself into a company and making it yours. And I love that he's owning it so much and taking this so personally, because it really is. And I know you don't have to be told this, but you both should be so incredibly proud with what you've done and what you've done for Sophie and for the other patients, but specifically for her, and given her everything the life that she has now. And she, like I said before, she lights up a room wherever she is. And if you let her take over the microphone, she will.
You're not getting it back. Yeah, she's a really, really special little girl. And that's the one thing I am probably most grateful for outside of her health today, is that this has not defined her. Her disease has not defined her. It is a huge part of who she is. And she happily tells people her story. But she's so outgoing, Curtis. It is crazy. I consider myself a very outgoing person, and my husband is as well. I mean, he and I go networking. We work a room. We meet as many people as we can and we talk. We do not hold a candle to our daughter. We can't, I mean, you walk down the mall and you're just going shopping and you're going about your way. You don't think about the other people that are passing. You might give a smile here and there. She literally talks to everyone that comes in her orbit. We'll just be walking. Hi, friends. Hi, sweetheart. Hi, Toots. She's like a 12-year-old trapped in a 90-year-old woman's body. She calls people Toots and honey. It's hilarious. How are you, sweetheart? How you doing? It's mind-blowing to me how she has been brutalized her entire life. Poked into, poisoned, burned, prodded, like all the things she's gone through. And she has no fear, which is sometimes a little scary in itself, because she doesn't have great vision. She can't always read the room. She doesn't always know who she's saying hi to. But nonetheless, it's also a very beautiful thing, because she will walk up to somebody and she'll be like, "You are beautiful. You should be a model." And even if that person knows that they wouldn't necessarily be hired as a model, it's the fact that someone came to them and saw beauty in them through and through. And my daughter has that ability to just see beauty in everyone, all shapes, sizes, walks of life. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you're from. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. She sees beauty in every human being. And when she does that, it allows them to see that beauty in themselves as well. When this little girl comes up to them that's clearly disabled, walking with a limp and has an eye that kind of flutters off, and They can see that she's been through something. Her hands doesn't look, totally normal. And for her to just find the beauty. And it's weird. It's like she knows who needs the most attention, like this intuition that she has. We can be a room full of people and she will know the person in that room that needs the attention the most, even though she can't see their faces well. It's just a blur. She has low vision. She's not in the dark, but she has low vision, but she can't see super well. She has to walk with a cane and learn Braille. But it's like she's just drawn to those that need her most. And I've had so many people message me on social media and tell me, I wanted to end my life. And you posted a video of your daughter. And I thought to myself, if she can get through what she's gone through in her young life and be as happy as she is right now, I can get through today and I can make it one more day. And she's literally saved people from ending their lives. There's about 6 or 7 kids named after her that people have reached out to me over the years and said, your family has inspired us so much and we love your daughter so much that we're naming our daughter Sophie. And we've had people that never wanted children, never had any desire to have kids, like meet her and immediately start trying. It just changed their whole perspective on being a parent. And to know that she's had that kind of impact on people, that she gives them hope when they're down and she gives them reason to fight. She is the most incredible gift. I always say having a child is the best gift you can ever give yourself. You can't really truly even understand that or understand what love is, in my opinion, until you have had your own kid. That is the purest form of love. And I would literally, I say this all the time, and Sophie will even say it herself. She'll be like, Mommy, if anybody ever comes with a gun, you're taking the bullet, right? I'm like, yes, honey. Mommy is always going to take that bullet for you. She's like, because you love me, Mommy. You're going to stand in front of me and protect me, right? I was like, you better believe, because I always tell her, I would take a bullet for you. I would stand in front of a moving train. If we're walking in a parking garage on a sidewalk, I'm like, no, honey, you get on the inside. If a car comes, they're hitting Mommy first. I got you. So she just knows that she's protected and loved. But that is truly how much I love her. There would be no question in my mind that if I could take this cancer from her and I could take her pain from her and I could have had all those surgeries and I could be the one that struggles through life every day with disabilities, I would do it. I can't. So this is the next best thing.
Right. And I think you absolutely mirror every single parent in this community too, is if we could just take it away, just be the ones that carry it so that they don't have to and they can just focus on being a kid. These kids, and like you mentioned, they care more about everybody else than they do themselves, honestly.
They do.
They want everybody else to be happy. They want everybody else to be okay. And I also say this too, and they'll see if I can get through it. But in the case of JC and of others too, but on the night that she passed, before she went into that sleep that unfortunately all too many parents know all too well, I looked her in the eyes and I said, "Are you okay?" And at that point, weeks, days, she had lost her ability to speak, so she was not speaking. I looked her in the eyes and said, "Are you okay?" She shook her head, yes. And from that moment, she went to sleep. They worry so much about how we're going to be okay and want to reassure that we're going to be all right, even if they're not here. And this is what we have got to try to save and fix and protect, because these kids, although we don't give them, we do, I think, but the world doesn't give them enough credit for understanding as much as they do with all of this. Being able to recite chemo drugs or even spell them before their ABCs is not something that these kids should be doing.
No. And my kid can do the same.
Right. It's, and to go through that kind of stuff, no, they're supposed to just be being kids. They're supposed to be making stupid mistakes that we've all made. They're supposed to be learning life, and they're supposed to be just having a good time and not worrying about when my next treatment is, when my next doctor's visit is, when the next time I'm going to have my port accessed. How long are we going to be in the hospital this time? This stuff is, the last time that we were physically there, we were there for 40 days for the stem cell transplant, went home, came back 2 days later for a checkup. She had a focal seizure. It's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life, because it was like the lights were on and nobody was home. And we were there for 10 days as she slipped into a sleep where I didn't think that I was going to bring her home. And to see that, and unfortunately, I've got videos, I've got images, because at that point, again, we were separated. My wife was at home with the other two girls. That's the kind of images, unfortunately, that the country, the world needs to see. I'm sorry.
It is.
That's the way.
You cannot get it and you cannot understand it until you've been through it. And the one thing that I know is a big no-no is someone who hasn't been through it. Don't tell someone that has that you get it, because you don't. There is absolutely no way on God's green earth that you could ever imagine in a million years the pain and suffering that a parent goes through when they go through watching their child fight for their lives. If you've been through an adult with cancer, great. It is not the same. It is simply not the same. That adult got to go to school and grow up with a normal childhood. May not have been perfect childhood, but it was a normal childhood. They got to play in the streets and go to school and have fun. They got to have their first kiss. They got to walk down the aisle. They got to go to college if they wanted to. They got to have a career. They got to experience all those things that many children never get to experience. It is not the same. And the fact that our kids get so little consideration and that more money has been stripped from them for this funding that is so desperately needed makes me feel a fire inside that I have not, that is anger driven, that I have not felt in a long time. And we just have to do better. These kids deserve better. And it's going to be the parents, Curtis. It's going to be the parents that get it done. It's going to be us working together, forming our village, which we have all been doing for years now, getting to know one another, supporting one another at any turn, any chance we can. And to that point, whatever bill it is that you're working on, let me know how I can support you. Let me know if there's something I can do for you and your family in the future to help with that. I'm always here and ready to rally the troops, get signatures, whatever it is that needs to happen, because this has to stop. Cancer is the number one disease killer of children in America. Do not call it rare. It may be rare because the population of children is small and anything under 250,000 affected a year is considered a rare disease. It is not a rare disease. It is the number one disease killer of kids in the United States. That is not rare.
It's simply rare because there is something in Congress called the Rare Diseases Act, and that's what labels that number as anything under that is apparently a rare disease. However, I would think personally, and if it was just me, that and I'm a road less traveled guy, that there should be more people out there wanting to, how about we get rid of the rare stuff and focus on the other stuff? You know what I mean? And so if it's a smaller population, I get that there's a less population, there's less tissue samples, there's less study groups in order to come up with things, and I get that. But at some point, all we need is one genius. And I know that there are geniuses out there. I know that there are scientists and doctors and researchers and college kids that are ready to take on the world, and now's the time to do it. And when it comes to, legislation, or it comes to Congress, it comes to all, I am an equal opportunity. I will rip you apart, R or D, independent alike. I do not care. I don't care what comes after your name. I don't care what party you align with. It does not matter to me. If you're willing to work with me, great. If you're willing to cast me aside, I promise you the world will know that you cast me aside. That's all there is to it. And you put yourself in a public forum, then you're asking for it. So the reality of it is, I have always said that, when it comes to politics, I don't talk about it much, but I do believe that people with different views, when you have conversations with people that don't agree with you, you often have the best conversations because you learn something.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like I know that, let's just say in the social media group, when I'm on TikTok, right? I know that everybody in there does not agree with me, but yet we're friends because we can talk about it and we can joke about it and we can conversate about it and realize that no matter where we put where we pencil in the dot, we're all fighting for the same reason here. And it's to give our kids a chance, the opportunity to, to choose their own political party later on in life, right? To choose what direction that they go in, to choose who they decide to support. And my kids have always been independent. pride myself and my wife, we pride ourselves on raising strong, independent women to take care of themselves and never need anybody's help, and to go out there and kick ass in this world and have their own views and their own whatever. And you know what? We don't always agree on everything, and that's fine. That means that we did our job because they're thinking and they have that ability. But to kind of go back to it, that means that they have that chance to have that ability, to have that choice. And our kids that we're losing every single day, and our daughter that we lost almost 4 years ago now, never had that opportunity. And I had to go every single day. And I think personally, as a parent that loses a child, if you have other children, I think it gets harder every single year, because I'm seeing my other children grow up and achieve all these things that JC will never achieve. And to sit at high school graduations and to send my daughter off to college, it's all bittersweet to me, because I know JC will never be able to accomplish that stuff. But at the same time, to the faith, I know she's with my girls every single day. I know she's put me in positions that I shouldn't have necessarily been in, but I'm there, and it made the outcome of that situation better. I know that she guides everything we do. I know that she rides alongside every single one of these warriors every single day when they need help. I also know that, unfortunately, when we lose a child, that she is there to welcome them and take care of them.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that means, like I said, that means that my wife and I did our job, and we raised strong, independent girls. And unfortunately, we'll never be able to see JC do the things I know that she would have accomplished. But I also know that what she's doing in heaven is work that cannot be explained. But we're at peace with the fact that she was on loan to us. She was on loan to us to enrich our lives in a way. I don't think that I was on a path in my life to be an advocate for pediatric cancer, but I do believe that I was on a path to be an advocate in general. I believe this was a path I needed to be on. And like you mentioned earlier, I think we were put on this earth for a reason. We just didn't know it at the time. And I think, we were given that sign, and we're here now, and the louder we are together speaking the same words, the more people are going to hear what we have to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for all the continued work that you and your family do. You've made a difference, and being able to wake up every day knowing that you've made a difference. That's what life is about, in my opinion.
Absolutely agreed. And this was phenomenal. And to be honest with you, when we kind of get towards the end, I always ask my guests to give their best advice to to parents, to advocates, to people out there, kind of maybe the people that are not part of this community, and your advice to them, and just the best thing you could leave them with.
Oh my gosh, I've got so much. I will give some scientific advice, as you guys have done. If you have the ability to get samples of your child's tumor and fluid, if it's brain, so that the microenvironment of the brain can be studied, and the environment in which that tumor sits in. If you can get samples of that, if there's a brain surgery coming up, if you're getting a cyst drained, get that fluid, get that tissue, and store it cryogenically. I use Store My Tumor. I don't know who you guys use, but that's who I've used for many, many years to store Sophie's fluid and her tissue. That can help the understanding of your child's disease as science evolves. It's something that's a huge benefit if we have access to it for patients. Love yourself, which is often hard to do when you're on this mission. Stop and try and give yourself grace. Because as parents that are in this community, we forget about us, because it's all about our kid. It's all about making sure they survive, they stay alive, and our worlds aren't further wrecking ball. You've got to love yourself and find a little bit of time here and there. I find that sometimes just crying in the shower is all I need to do, but you got to get it out. And when we were talking earlier about how you don't know how you and your wife got through it, I actually have been able to kind of look back and pinpoint what helped my husband and I get through it. It was several books that I read that were really good. One of them was Byron Katie's Loving What Is, which is some tools and these 3 questions you can ask yourself to see if you're really the problem or if the other person is the problem, and then just being able to move on from it. It really helps you identify things that you're holding on to, because when it comes to trauma, if you hold on and store that trauma and you don't deal with it, it just keeps building and building and building and building. So you have to deal with things as they come and then release them and forget them. Leave them in the rear view. There are certain things you're never, ever going to truly, really forget, right? But the resentment around these things that have happened, you have to release it. You have to forgive. You have to move forward. Living in the past is history. It is depression, it is fear. You're holding on to these things that no longer serve you. Living in the past is depression. Okay. Living in the future is anxiety. If you're constantly worried about what hasn't happened yet, you're not able to be present in the present moment. The present is a gift. That is why they call it the present, is an old saying. So do everything you can to release your past traumas. That's really what helped me with my husband and I. I was holding on to things that he couldn't fix anymore. He couldn't change. He was holding on to things that I couldn't fix anymore. I couldn't change. And we were just going round and round in these circles all the time, in these loops that were the same argument, because we just couldn't get out of our own way. We couldn't let the past go. So release the depression. Stop worrying about the future so much. There's so much anxiety when you're just, and I'm a victim of it myself. I'm always worried about what I've got coming up and what I got to do next and what I haven't done. When you can just stay present and you can appreciate those little moments, celebrate those little moments. Like Sophie's report card, we're going to go out to dinner. We're going to celebrate the little moments. Life is so very precious, and stop sweating the small stuff. Your scars are your stars. My most horrific traumas are also my greatest victories, because it was those moments in which I endured those traumas that woke me up to something different. And I chose personally to take something bad and make it good. And there is so much potential in life if you can do that. If you can look at your scars and you can look at your traumas as gifts, and you can use those lessons that you have learned to not only not repeat those same mistakes, but also a lot of times don't choose that same kind of person to be in your life, or don't maybe make the mistake in business that you made that one time that you was devastating, almost cost you everything. Now you know what not to do. Use those as your lessons, use those as your stars. And those are some of the things that I use in my everyday life. I try to use. Again, I'm not perfect. I still fear the future all the time, especially when it comes to business. I've always got anxiety about, why are we not there yet? Why are we not there yet? But some of the worst things that have ever happened to me is the fire in my belly. I lost all of my friends when my daughter was sick. They accused me of calling her brain tumor cancer when it wasn't, that I was just an eye condition, that because these are low-grade tumors, there's a word used, benign, when they diagnose these tumors. This tumor is not benign. There is nothing benign about an optic pathway glioma. The only thing benign about it is that it doesn't spread to other parts of the body. It would have absolutely killed my child many, many, many times had I not put her on chemotherapy for almost 7 solid years. I lost everyone. And it has been that fire, those horrible, awful things that they said about me, about lying about my daughter's condition to try and raise money and buy a house, and just horrific things, none of which were true. I still live in an apartment 12 years later. I still don't have a house because of all the medical expenses, and because we're a startup, and because I don't pay myself a lot because I'm a startup, so that we can keep the money in the bank and move the company forward. But I lost everyone. I lost all of my good friends, all of them, just gone. And it has been the fire in my belly, what they did to me, and how devastating my life was, with my infant daughter being diagnosed with cancer and then having friends attack me, calling me a liar, saying that her diagnosis wasn't real. It had that horrific thing not happen to me, maybe I wouldn't have had as much fuel. I don't know. But I take that as it's a very deep scar, one of those that's been harder for me to heal, because these were people I loved and cared about and I thought I could trust. And it has been this star for me, because it's allowed me to keep fighting. They are not going to be right. I'm going to be right. I'm going to prove them wrong. And I've done it. I've used something horrible and I've turned it into something beautiful for my family and for other families that we've touched thus far, and hopefully millions of more families to come. But had I not fallen down so many times and had so much pain and so much suffering, I would not have this coat of armor on that I have today, that has made me as resilient as I am and that has made me as smart as I am, because my toolbox is full. So fill your toolbox.
I love it. And I love what a perfect thing to say too. And I think, for me, I will say this, music is very therapeutic to me when it goes through all of this. And,
Yes.
When you said, you said the scars, like one line in a song that I love is "My scars are my war paint." And that it just engulfs everything, because we're out here, we're in the trenches, we're doing, this is dirty work, and working through, any kind of congressional FDA approval, all that kind of stuff. When you're trying to get, those people to listen to what you're saying, it is dirty work and it's not fun and it takes a lot of time. But when you have that drive behind you, because there's people telling you that you can't do it. There's people telling you that you should quit. You should give up because it's convenient to walk away and it would just be easier to not do it. And that is absolutely, for me too, a drive and an absolute passion. And I don't have the ability to ever sit down, and if you ask my wife, she'll tell you it drives her crazy. My brain is always firing at 100 miles an hour because I've always tried, like, okay, I've got to do this and I've got to do this. I know this has got to get done. And she'll have to physically tell me, you have to sit down and take a break because you will burn yourself out. And that anxiety, yep. And that anxiety of, always thinking about tomorrow and what tomorrow is going to bring. And listen, we're not, I don't think we have the ability to ever not. And the what if game will absolutely drive you crazy, especially after a diagnosis. But you have to look at how you handled it and how your children handle it and how your family handles it. And the people that are true to you will absolutely support you 100% along the way. The people that walk away when it gets too hard, they were never there for the right reasons anyway. So pick your army, pick your team when it comes to the medical side of it. Pick the people you want in your corner and absolutely fight to the ends of the earth for your kids, and continue to keep that up and reach out. Never be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness. And I'm still learning that. I have a hard time asking for help, but it is an absolute sign of strength. And it shows that you're willing to let people give you advice and guidance when you don't think there's any there. So take that opportunity, take that risk.
I've seen parents struggle with is asking for help. That is such a good point. I've seen so many families that did not have $5, order themselves a meal while they were impatient with their child, not want to set up a GoFundMe, because there's that pride that you have. You don't want to be the person that doesn't have enough money to afford a meal. There's pride there. And you're so right. Like, you have to ask for help. That had I not, I've over the course of 12 years raised roughly, I think it's close to $500,000 on GoFundMes and campaigns that I've done for Sophie. One of her treatments alone cost $140,000 out of pocket for her first set of NK cell therapy. Thankfully, I own the company that's doing this one, so the company's covering her expenses, but we wouldn't have been able to afford it had the company, along with my partners, agreed to take care of So for us, because we've been so financially devastated. And that $500,000 I raised on GoFundMe went to medical bills, went to keeping my food on my family's table, and kept us from losing our apartment many times. We didn't have rent, and through fundraisers, our community saved us. And that wasn't easy for me to do. I've always had a lot of pride in how hard I work and the ability to make enough money to take care of myself and those that I love. And the healthcare is so expensive here. You got to be able to ask. That's a really, really great point. There's nothing wrong with it. Let people in, let them help you. They want to. There are so many good people out there still. There's so many good people. Strangers just waiting to meet you around every corner that will give you a hand when you need help being picked up.
Absolutely. I know it was something that we never wanted to do. And, we were lucky enough to have a really good faith community that helped us out a lot when we needed it. And at the time I had a decent job and insurance coverage and things like that. So, things worked out in that sense, but we never really wanted to ask for help. And it's still, and now you're running a nonprofit, you have to ask for help because that's the whole point, and so you're trying to you're fighting yourself at the same time. But yeah, just that's my biggest thing. Just don't be afraid to ask. And like you said too, people want to help. They just need to know where to help, and they want you to ask. I think people feel weird about coming up and offering. Sometimes they feel weird about how do they talk to you, how do they approach you. Especially with when you lose a child, people think that you're essentially, for lack of a better way to put it, damaged goods, and they don't know how to speak to you. But we're still the same people. We just had a horribly tragic thing happen, and we want, we've got other things that we're doing and missions and stuff like that. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to offer. Just be a friend. A lot of people just want you to listen to them. So take that opportunity. But that is so that's my advice. And but so there you go. So this has been an incredible conversation. I appreciate you so much for taking the time with me. I know it was tough for us to get here, but we got here. And life definitely gets in the way and has its own plans sometimes. And I think we are just shining examples of that in general here, that life just decides what it wants to do, and you have to kind of find a way to adapt to it. But this has been phenomenal, and I look forward every year to being able to, run into you in DC. We'll be in DC coming up here in another week, and we'll be doing that. And then hopefully we'll be able to be there as much as possible to be on that hill and talk to the people and start to get their heads out of the sand and into where they need to be, and seeing things that are really happening out here, the real world, the real people that everyday decisions affect. So that's where we hope to go from here. But I want to thank you again for taking the time. If you want to tell people one more time the website and where they can find you.
Absolutely. And thank you again so much for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation as always. We have a couple websites. The first one is our nonprofit, Saving Sophie, which is just Saving Sophie, SOPHIE.org, where you can donate to help us raise funds for children with grants. None of the people that work with me right now are being paid. Our goal is always to try and give at least 85% of every donation to a child. We keep as little of the money as we can just to pay the small bills that we have. We're hoping to have an event come up in October. That venue's already been paid for. So any money that we raise from that is just going to go straight to the kids. So we're really hoping to have some success in that this year. My therapeutics company is called Nkore. It's just Nkore.com. That's N as in Nancy, K as in kite, ORE.com. The NKORE is because we believe natural killer cells are the core to wellness. We'll twist on the words there. And then we are going to be launching a new website here soon. I've already built it. I've already designed it. That's one of the jobs that I do for the company. It's got so much more information on it. We've got to run it through our regulatory. So there will be more info coming soon on that website, including our patient stories and a teaser trailer to our documentary that we're filming right now called Saving Sophie, The Road to a Cure. We're using Hollywood legends that do shows like The Umbrella Academy on Netflix and Kevin Costner's new 3-part series, Horizon. These guys that produce and direct those shows are part of our documentary. It's going to be a really great film. We hope because it's going to come out next year. And then if you want to follow Sophie on social media, it's also Prayers for Sophie, SOPHIE, on Instagram and on Facebook. And that's how you can find us. And then me on LinkedIn, of course, Tracy Ryan or Nkore. You can find us there.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much once again, everybody. Please go out and follow and, read the story a little bit more, do the research. And, and also I want to say this too, when it comes to making donations or, things like that to organizations, do your research, reach out and read the stories, find out why they started, what they're doing. And, don't just do blind donations because an envelope comes in the mail. Okay. Just, focus on the people that are doing the real work and that are really out there making a massive difference and have personal interests and personal stories connected to what they're doing. This is truly an incredible work that you guys are doing. Again, bittersweet a little bit, but I'm so excited to see it moving forward and really making a massive difference. So excited to hear about that incredible report card. You know what? And own that F, Sophie. It's all I'm going to say. You
right.
F. All right. There's always somebody with a calculator nearby.
In math, unless they start adapting her curriculum, which is what we're trying to get them to do. So that F is a badge of honor, in my opinion.
That's right. And that better be up on the fridge. Okay.
Exactly.
So that will be great. But I look forward to seeing you guys again. Look forward to seeing you all. And hopefully we can speak soon and we'll go from there. But I want to thank you again for spending the day with me.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you. We will see everybody else next week.